Welcome to Backstories, the podcast where we dig deep into the untold tales behind the people, places, and moments that shape our world. Every month, we'll uncover the hidden narratives that inspire, surprise, and challenge us. So, grab your headphones and get ready to journey into the past, one backstory at a time.
Oh, so as you were saying, we were college roommates, and your roommate, and people switched around a lot, but we didn't. But your roommate often ends up being that person that does those really outlandish, the most crazy things in the world that you can find to get into. Which I was usually the one in our pair that did that. I was the one that would get into stuff. Even now, I think. I just can't grab her as readily to say, okay, I've got to do this. Can you help? So it ended up that I had an English paper to do. And it was one where you had to go and sit and describe a place. So I had decided that the place I was going to write my paper on was the athlete's dorm. So we go over night after night and sit in the lobby of the dorm watching people get on and off the elevator and stuff that people do. And I'm not going to use any other names than Paula's. So if you were one of those folks and in that dorm, feel safe that I'm not going to report what you were into. So go through that, turn in the paper, great, blah, 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 blah. Go through college, get married, have jobs. But if you ended up in a job or place that wasn't quite where you were thinking you were going to be when you started off in college, then I'm there with you, because I ended up in a place that was in no way connected to what I had started out wanting to do when I started college. I went to a high school where my graduating class had 76 students in it. And I decided to go to University of Maryland that had 40,000 students going there. So it's like, whoa. She was very confident. At least that's the way very confident. You were very confident. Confident, I tell you. And there were lots of things that she joined in helping me. And I should have said the disclaimer at the beginning that any, resemblance to people living or dead in this story is purely coincidental. So I helped out with a couple fraternity things that, may have been read about in the Diamondback the next day, which the newspaper on campus is like, whoa, If we had been involved in that, that would have really been a situation that, unlike Spider, we would not have wanted to call home. So now that we're grown up and working in places that you didn't think you would be, I'm at work one day, and in walks my freshman English professor. And he remembered me. Like, damn, I must have really made an impression. But then I'm thinking, what could he be thinking of me now? That he's meeting me here. I'm standing behind the framing counter. Hi. But of course, I'm trying to play it off like, hey, this is just my part-time gig, and no worries, I'll be heading off to my real job very shortly. But when he came in and he remembered me and we start talking, he says, I've been looking for you. Which, like, how many Geneva Parkers could there be in the world? But okay, I'll go with this. He had been looking for me because he had written a book for his class, and of course, English professor. It wasn't creative writing, it was actually somewhat of a textbook. But he had included an excerpt from my paper on that time in the athlete's dorm. So I'm feeling real full of myself when he left there, and I was ready to say, see you suckers, I'm out of here, because now I'm published. Yeah. That's all 4 lines in paper, but I'm published. I am published. So now when I look back, as Paula's doing over here, because I sent her a text the other day. I'm going through cards and everything. You know, when you reach a certain point in your age, and it's like, I really need to start clearing out. So I found a box of cards and letters and things that people have written or sent me, and one of them was a card that that Paula had sent me that said that I'm stuck in a chocolate factory, but it said, don't rescue me, just because she's a major chocolate addict. So I had sent her that card, but what she has tonight that I'm not going to read you, unfortunately, is one of those questionable letters from a friend that may or may not have existed when we may or may not have been engaging in questionable things. But as I was looking at the reminder about tonight and thinking about the things that we may or may not have done, and thinking about Dr. Hammond and that English paper that really did exist, by the way. That was not a, we don't need a disclaimer for the paper because it's real. The paper is real. I think back to that when I'm feeling at a point like, what the hell am I doing? Why didn't I do this or why didn't I do that? Because that paper helped to give me the confidence to keep doing the stuff that may not have been what I had planned to do when I was one of those 76 students, or stuff that I have stepped out and stepped to the front, whereas I would have been the person staying back and staying quiet. And haven't I changed?
Not much.
Well, anyway, I think. So that for the rewind, I wouldn't change that experience because it helped to make me, and my kids, even though they might tend to walk way behind if I'm getting into one of those situations or off to a side. That's because they look so much like me, they can't deny. Because it's one of those things. So the other thing is the Ladies' March for you. Keep calling it the Women's March. Who gives a hoo-ha what everybody else is calling it? If for you it's still the Women's March, then march on. The guy in the post office, obviously, hey, issues. And once again, we must thank our officers for being quick in remedying the situation. But I wanted to share that with everyone, that moment for me that I would not change, but that has helped me to keep stepping out there, even though I might doubt myself for a bit. But when I was going through those, Paula's was one of those letters that kept ringing up for me. And since 2 years ago when we were in college, even though some of the buildings no longer exist, we need to talk to the state about that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share.